Good morning, Yasha Allah. In thanksgiving unto the Most High, our power, and our deliverer, the Mashiach, who was put forth, crucified in Jerusalem for our transgressions, for to give repentance to Yasha Allah. In his name and in the presence of the blessed Ruach, we come to you and we say to the world out there, listen up. Our discussion is with or about mystery of the seventh seal. The mystery of the seventh seal. And I am sure that, as would be expected, a lot of eyebrows would be lifting. Eyebrows would be raising. And then some people might gather in small groups or large groups and huddle together because of fear. Many people are afraid of the book of Revelation, and with, we respect that. They show some respect for the fact that they understand that something ominous is about this book of Revelation. There's something ominous because it speaks to the end time with such a concentration that many people learn to respect, even though in general they think the Bible is a book to throw on the shelf, throw on the ground and burn up for many people. But we are glad for the opportunity that we have, for the understanding that we have to pay attention. As the Malachim told the apostle and prophet Yochanan, write, for the things are at hand. So he was reminded to focus on the fact that the things that he was supposed to write about were, what do you call it? There's a word we use for it. Eminent things in process and quick procession to take place. All right, enough of that. In this revelation, we are concerned about the hatred of Levi for Benjamin or Benjamin. And we have found that according to the revelation shown to our father Abraham, let's go and look at it briefly to get our bearing. Genesis, Bereshit chapter 15. I think it's a memorable chapter by now that speaks about the 400-year captivity that the 12 tribes have endured and has newly been released from, albeit that those who were responsible for conducting the captivity have said no to being released from 400 years of absolute torture with burnings and breakings and tearing bodies apart, throwing them to the sharks and the alligators, crocodiles, and so forth, all that. And I think it would be touching. It ought to be for those of us who have feelings, because we are shown from the scriptures that many people are past feeling. They don't feel. They don't feel. They have a program set for destruction, so they don't feel. And therefore, when we look at the 400 years of captivity for the 12 tribes, we see expressed clearly in the conditions that the slaves were captive under. It was nothing short of brutal. It was nothing short of the idea of total destruction. That's what the 400 years enslavement was about. That was the tenor note in the music. Destruction. 400 years. And it is of interest to me, and I suppose as we are discussing it, it becomes of interest to you as well, particularly to the 12 tribes, having been scattered abroad, that our father Abraham was shown by the Most High, Yahweh, who according to the text in Bereshit chapter 15, from verse 12, it says, "And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him." As we see described in verse 12 of Bereshit 15, I think one with normal sensibilities would detect in the offering of this writing, this scripture, one would detect a sign of omen, as the scripture shows us what was happening to Abraham. Because the Most High, Yahweh, was leading him, showing him a vision of what would happen to his progeny, his children. As the Most High was declaring to Abraham the proceedings of the covenant that he was cutting with Abram. And this covenant was about him, Abraham, and his seed. Now he had many sons, as some of us already know by the kind of nursery rhyme type of song that is sung in many of the churches. You know, they say, Father Abraham had many sons, had Father Abraham, and I am one of them. Remember that song? Yes. But the scriptures goes on to tell us that though he had many sons, all were not the son of promise. And in fact, I think the scripture said he had many children, but all were not sons. In that sense, I believe that's the way it is put, which was to suggest or to pronounce that there is or there was a special son that was being regarded as the seed of the covenant. But we look at it anyhow and see that when Abram fell into this deep sleep, a great darkness, and the scriptures say, and horror of great darkness. Personally, I have experienced a depth of horror, of darkness, because of being taken into vision and being shown matters, concerning the future. And so I've experienced the darkness. It's really something mysterious. As dark as the night to be, when the Most High take you into this type of darkness, it's darker than the night. And you can see the difference in the shade of light distinctly. Dark, really dark. So this was the condition of our father Abraham. The Most High took him into this deep darkness. And it was horror to him. For he was to see, as we have been finding out concerning this 400 years of torture and destruction, he was going to see the 400 years as an umbrella period covering all the workings of enslavement of his children. From that particular son that was to inherit the promise. And what comes out to be an amazing fact is that another son, another child born in the cradle of Abraham, this child called Esau, was destined to be the bringing forth of this horror that Abraham would experience. In fact, as it came to pass, as it was coming to pass, it was going to be something that was under the conduct of his son called Esau. And so the father said to Abraham, "No, of a surety, this is surely going to come to pass, that your seed will be slaves in a land that is not theirs, and will be dealt 400 years of affliction. And also, that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. I will bring a rule upon them. And afterward, they shall come out with great substance." So when we look at that, in that brief description of the 400 years debacle, it seemed like a short descriptive note. And one might take it, as maybe not too much to worry about, because the description of the 400 years is so brief that it might lead one to think that not too much about it. But for those who have experienced the workings, the coming to pass of this 400 years, we know that it was no joke. There was no joke about it at all. I am a witness coming in on the tail end of the 400 years enslavement myself, and many of us here in the Bahamas, as in the area called the Americas. We know what hell it was to come through, to endure that type of torture that was never experienced in the world before. All those wars, those great wars, those, historic, massive war and national accomplishments from different nations, nothing matched 400 years enslavement. And the brother Esau was the one under whose charge the brutality of this 400 years was conducted. The one who has hid himself from being known and understood to be the destroyer of the whole earth under the chief of destruction, was Satan, Beelzebub, and all of them. In their presence and under their direction, at least Esau conducted the 400 years enslavement ordeal upon the chosen one, Yaquab. And then we look at the 400 years as a one-time experience. I think that's generally how people would view it. I might be wrong, but being one of the crowd, it's kind of the way I viewed it. 400 years, okay, 400 years, boom, that's 400 years. But when we get into the revelation of the prophecy, we see something quite ominous that had to be experienced by the people that would endure this 400 years that was shown to Abraham. It has been described to us in, I think, several of ways, maybe many ways, different ones out of the 12 tribes and out of other people of the nations of the earth have sought to give some kind of descriptive clarification of what the 400 years experience was like and what was endured by the people who were destined to be the bearers of the cruelty, the barbarity, the barbarism, and the destructive conduct of the 400 years enslavement. Recently, I have been led by the Ruach of the Heavenly on the behalf of the Mashiach, who was the principal offering of the covenant that Abraham was having this experience about what the Most High brought to him when he was in that great horror of darkness. And now recently it has come to light by the prophecy that in the ending of the 400 years, among other things that went on, that happened, there would be a period of another captivity within the captivity. And this captivity I'm referencing to you is that which was conducted by the Levitical priesthood. A 70 years, well, actually more than that, 70 years within the 200 years of the Levites' conduct of the enslavement of the 12 tribes. That's right. A hidden agenda that was not known to the world. And in thanksgiving unto Abanawa, our father, on behalf of the Mashiach, we get to see that 200 years of the 400 was allotted unto Levi. As Levi was the associate of Edom in the time of the crucifixion of the Mashiach, go back and read your scriptures in the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Yohanan. You will see clearly, and without a doubt, remarks being made of the priests and the priesthood. This was the time when the priesthood was being conducted by a people called the Maccabees. And so in the time of the Maccabees, the Levites, the Levitical priesthood, were called Maccabees. So when you go on your computer and you see the word Maccabean and you begin to research it, you see actions being accorded to the priests and the priesthood of the nation of Yasha'Allah that has continuously been confused with Israel. And Israel is a bastard collection of people that have sought under the banner of the Edom that we talk about, who conducted the 400 years enslavement. That name has taken over the idea of birthright to the land that was given unto Abraham and to his seed, the seed being the chosen ones, whom the Most High recruited to be rulers, governors of the earth, in the aftermath of the fall of our first parents, Hawa and Adam. And so we find that what was missing from the knowledge and understanding of the 400 years enslavement indeed has been the 200 years out of the 400 that was allotted to the tribe of Levi that had become agents of Satan against the will of the Most High for the salvation of the tribes. That was missing from the general understanding of the historical account of the 400 years enslavement. So Levi, the Haitians, as we know today, conducted the 200 years, the last 200 years of the 400 years enslavement. And in that, there was brought to bear on behalf of the 200 years enslavement under the Levites, the fallen Levites, those who were instrumental in priesthood, Maccabeans, and made their bold attempts that you can read of in the what they call four Gospels, where you see those priests, Caiaphas and the different ones, high priest, chief high priest. They were the people today that we call Haitians. They were the ones who were bloodthirsty for the blood of the Mashiach. And in accordance with Herod and Pilate, they nailed him up. In fact, they nailed him up on the tree. The so-called Haitians we know today, they were instrumental with Esau to destroy the Mashiach because of their hatred that the Most High was bringing salvation to the tribes. And what is so hilarious about it, in my view, is that these Levites were only humans like we are. I mean, when you study the scriptures in depth, we see that many of the Levites were prophets. Indeed, Moshe was a Levite, who we call Moses. He was a Levite, a daring brother, and has done many wonderful works under the Most High Yahweh. But this bunch that came in the time of the sacrifice of the Mashiach, that were called Maccabeans, they were a serious bunch. They turned their back. Well, they began to depart from the order of the priesthood. And in due course, when it came down to the 400 years enslavement of the tribes, all within the period of the 200 years allotted to the fallen priesthood that we today call Haitians, they had a covenant signed with Napoleon and the revolution that some today call the revolution for Haiti's independence. No, it was a revolution to destroy the order of the priesthood that was committed to the Levitical order of priests, called in those days of the Mashiach the Maccabeans. Today we call them Haitians. They were the priests. And as we know that the last few presidents, one called Aristide, committed the nation to voodoo. That's their national religion, voodoo, hatred against the Most High and the Mashiach. They put him down, Mashiach, at the crucifixion, and they continued their vitriol of hatred against him and against all the order of the priesthood of the Mashiach. So, in the blood oath covenant, presided over by the general Napoleon, the astute general Napoleon, that had the fallen Levitical priesthood committed to a blood oath covenant, wherein was the time that they did sign over their allegiance to the Most High and to the Mashiach. They signed it over to Satan. You can pull up the video and see the happenings with them, the Haitians, in the time of Aristide. You go and read it, and you will begin to get the connection of what we are showing you here from the scriptures in the 400 years enslavement. It is in the time of the 400 years enslavement that Aristide indeed gets to say, we are a nation of voodoo. This happened within the 400-year period. And the Jesuit priesthood coming together with the fallen Levitical priesthood signed up for a, what they call it, blood oath covenant against the Mashiach, against the Levitical priesthood yielding their service to the Mashiach. They turned it all over to Satan and became a priesthood of voodoo. And Aristide proclaimed that. That's world history. But it's in this 400-year morning. It's in this 400 years allotment that it takes place. And this is what you need to know. So with the Levites, the 4 Levites conducting their 200 years of enslavement was when we experienced, as I shared with our audience before, we experienced the horror that Abraham experienced in part. We experienced the horror of the Haitians in operation all through the diaspora, America in particular, and the Bahamas. I know other nations were having their share of the Levitical priesthood intrusion, but especially North America and South America, and here in the Bahamas where I live, where I'm speaking to you from. The fallen Levitical priesthood, the Haitians, had a high hand in the destruction of the 12 tribes. This was not openly known, but it is explained here by the prophecy in the 400 years that was allotted and showed to Abraham. So the French Revolution and all of that came within the time of the 400 years that was shown to Abraham. And we saw the busyness and all that bravery of accomplishments, whatever have you, science and technology and, a lot of activity in the time of the French Revolution. This was in the 400 years prophesied unto Abraham. And he got to see, our father Abraham got to see the brutality that was offered to his children by Esau and by Levi. He saw his children bound together by voodoo practice of Levi. I mean, literally bound together. Some people could not stand up. Many of the leaders, in general, the leaders of Judah and North America were slain by the many methodology of Esau in North America. But with the Levites, the fallen priesthood in charge of it, they were gunned down. You know the story of the enslavement, the enslavement process as pronounced in the Willie Lynch letter. The Willie Lynch letter, however, came after the period of the French Revolution, where Haiti offered its hand to assist in bringing stability to the economic crisis in France by enslaving the House of Judah for Napoleon. And this is where we get the blood oath covenant that was formed that was agreed to, the blood oath covenant against the house of Judah, that only came to an end a matter of a few weeks ago when I think his name was Moise, the last Haitian president that was slain, gunned down. Esau demolishing the contract of the two of the blood oath covenant. Esau demolished it when he saw that it wouldn't work according to their demand, what they required and what they requested. They wanted the submission of the house of Judah under the Levitical priesthood, fallen Levitical priesthood guidance, to be committed unto the enslavement processes that would alleviate the economic crisis in France, and therewith to have a human sacrificial offering made, all for the advancement of France and the kingdom of Satan. This was a part of the blood oath covenant, to have a human sacrificial offering out of the house of Judah to be sacrificed for the advancement of the economics of France. And as we look at the seventh seal, we see the effort of the Most High now put in, that he puts in to extract and recover his children out of the hands of Satan, Levi, the fallen Levites, and Esau. This is what the sealing is about. You need to know that it is the Most High reaching out to save you, Yasha'Allah. You who have had a deep lack of understanding of what you were suffering in those 400 years. The Levites that you know today as Haitians were directly responsible for the atrocities that were done to the revolutionaries in North America. All of them were touched by the voodoo involvement of Haiti, destroying the advancement of the house of Judah in North America and the Caribbean and the Bahamas. And so, when we look at Revelation, the book of Revelation, in view of our understanding now concerning the 400 years, this part of it, anyway, we see that the Apostle Yochanan exclaims, chapter 7 of Revelation, after these things, I saw 4 Malachims standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another Malachim ascending, coming up from the east, having the seal of the living Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 Malachims, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their foreheads. That sealing is going on now, as I'm speaking with you. And it began immediately after the 400 years was completed in March. Yes. That's when the 400 years was completed. and the sealing of the 12 tribes began. And we find, interestingly enough, that Esau, having our scriptures in his hand as the father allowed him to have it, and having knowledge of these prophecies, not fully aware of, the goings on in the midst of the revelation. But as we have been able to gather understanding and speak on these matters, then Esau put his work, put in his work to abort and abolish the plans of the Most High. And indeed, with the help of Levi again, according to the blood oath covenant that was cut with Napoleon and the Catholic Church and Levi, all their plans have been geared towards destroying this sealing proposition. They already knew it from the wording of the scripture. They only couldn't give any direction, specific direction to the exact moment and time things would transpire. But as they heard us, Yasha'Allah, speaking the prophecies and giving vent to the knowledge and understanding, as we understood it, then they set their machinery in action. Esau set his machinery in action to stop. With the help of Levi, with the voodoo, they set all that together to block the sealing of the 12 tribes. And that is where we are now. This is why we have what was shown to us as the mark of the beast. All this set up to counteract the release of the 12 tribes from the brutality of Satan and Levi and Esau. This is the size of the matter. And so it has been my honor in the Mashiach, as we have been made his ministers, to assist him. That's why the 12 tribes were born, to assist the Mashiach. Well, what did the apostle say? For we are his workmanship, created in Mashiach unto good works. And it was given to us, according to the book of Ephesians, to make the principalities and powers know, understand the manifold works of the Most High. This is what we're doing now, and have been gearing ourselves up to accomplish, to make the world and the principalities and powers, wherever they be in the cosmos, we have to give them understanding. This is the kind of able ministers that the Mashiach has made us for his purpose, that the world may know, that they may understand what they're dealing with. You're dealing with fire. Fire you can't negotiate with. I have to let you know, it is our honor to be able to let you know that you're dealing with fire that you can't negotiate. Expertise in what do you call it, the Mashiach is bringing from the Most High on this kingdom. I have to give it to you. Although you're not going to listen anyhow, you have to feel the fire and the Mashiach who treads out upon the wrath of his Father, the Most High, on behalf of the kingdom that the Father gave him to be his inheritance. This is the inheritance of the Messiah, who was crucified in Jerusalem by Esau, whereby Esau instituted his Nicene Creed to proclaim to the world his victory from the time he began to say no to the covenant and to seek to have his way, in the will of the Most High. And Levi was led to act in the same manner, to set slavery upon the 12 tribes, particularly with the house of Yehoiada, for the French Revolution. And thereafter, after Levi set the protocol of slavery in 1812, Willie Lynch came along, Esau, directly, and set up what is called today, anyway, it is described in a document called the Willie Lynch Letter, Let's Make a Slave. This came about after Levi had set up the enslavement protocol in the 1700s. Levi set it up, not Esau. Esau came behind and copied it and took credit for it. All this in the 400 years revelation that was shown unto Abraham. He saw all of this. And so, having many things to say, we want to show, as we're now getting the revelation, a deeper sense of the revelation of the 400 years captivity. We want to show why Levi has resorted to turning his back on the offering of the Most High. I mean, such a blessed privilege and honor. Levi spat on it, as Esau spat on it. Esau spat on the birthright, you know. The birthright was nailed up on a tree in Jerusalem. And having said no by his actions, Esau spat on the birthright, and Levi came behind. Go and read Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John. Esau spat on it, and Levi came and spat on it. This is some serious matters. But we thank the Father for the Ruach and his revelation to bring out what was hidden from our sight. And now we can understand the French Revolution in more vivid detail. Understand the Willie Lynch letter and the Willie Lynch syndrome that was practiced upon the slaves, our people, in the 400 years torture that Esau has been busy about in the earth, trying to cover up and brush it away. Ain't nothing to it. We have done it already, and we're getting ready to do it again. That's their action. That's what they say by their actions. They've done it already. They won't do it again. Give them another chance to do it again. The Father has set in place the sealing of the tribes. And they understand that to mean, finally, separation that we have been trying to bring forth all these years from the early inception of our people being bombarded with Esau forcing himself in the midst and then coming to tell us how great he is. I have no time for that, to hear how great you are. What are you to the Most High? What are you? Indeed, what are you? But he coming into our midst, forcing himself into our midst, and telling you how well he was treated by the slaves he met here. This is in their history records. They were treated well. They were treated with respect, human dignity and regard. What did they do with it? What did they do with it? Massacre the whole lot of the people. This is their history. And you hear them come a short time ago and say, give them another chance. Because that 400 years seemingly was not enough. They didn't get it done as they wished to have it done, to give them some more time so they could really get it done. The Most High says, no, this is the sealing time now. And this is the time that they, along with the Haitians and the Voodoo, have set themselves to combat and to counteract. So you got to have a made-up mind, Yasha Allah, that the revelation of Yom Mashiach, who gave his life on the tree for you, that Esau could brag about in his Nicene Creed, that he put him down. He states it in the book of Genesis, Bereshith, when we read of the rejection of the covenant. That was the preview to writing the Nicene Creed, crucified under Pontius Pilate, written in stone. And so, in view of all the foregoing, what I have been called to share with you by our Father, the Blessed Ruach, you have a better understanding now of what the 400 years was about and why it was such a horror to our father Abraham. Indeed, we are in the sealing to finally be separated from Esau, who has vowed in himself that he would not let you go, that he would not let you be separated from him, but keep you near to keep destroying you. That's his protocol. That's the mandate he got from Satan, to exercise political control of you, to exercise what they call the organization. The big time organization that's overall their works. It's the United Nations, all of that, to keep you as a prize for destruction, daily, hourly, yearly. The Father has come, the Mashiach has set in his program now to release us from all of that, because he comes to set up a reign, kingdom that shall never be destroyed. It's written in the book of Daniel, chapter 2, and thereabouts. And it's written throughout the scriptures, actually. In Isaiah chapter 63, Mashiach proclaims his will against Edom. Who is this that comes from Edom? Dyed garments from Bosra, the home of Edom. This is great. I mean, in his striding forth in the greatness of his might, dyed garments, shedding the blood of Esau. So we're gonna see how brave your new world, your Orwellian world, your chicken farm. You're gonna see how brilliant it is, Esau. You asked for it. You've been proclaiming it for years now, and it's on your billboard that you're bringing a chicken farm. You're gonna have the 12 tribes on your chicken farm. Fire is coming for you. Ain't gonna be no chicken farm. It's gonna be a fire farm, a farm of fire. That's what's coming for you. And it is our duty, as the call of the Most High and of the Mashiach who gave his life for us, it is our duty to let you know. Yeah, you got some other ideas, you and Satan. But the Mashiach says, fire next time, no flood, fire coming for you. And you're going to let the children of Yashala go. Be glad to let them go. Remember Pharaoh? Pharaoh said, I ain't letting them go. Who is Allahayim? Who is Yahweh that I should let these people go? And these people serving me so well, building up all my treasures, cities, building my pyramids and my all of that. And you're talking about let them go? Exodus chapter 3. Well, you can begin it from chapter 1 and get the whole story of the release and deliverance from Misraim, Egypt. Pharaoh said, I'm not letting these people go. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do, Yahweh. I ain't letting these people go. Esau find himself in the same condition. Esau say, I ain't letting you go. I got plenty of voodoo from Haiti. You ain't going nowhere. So it's on. We're going to see who's triumphant in this showdown. Whether it's going to be Pharaoh, whether it's going to be Esau, whether it's going to be Levi, the fallen. We're going to see who will survive, who will be the victor. Yashala, I bid you be strong, the Most High. But one more thing, if I may. I want to broaden the view of Levi hatred against the Mashiach. Let me show you what it is. When we go back into, I don't want to go there particularly right now, but I'll throw out the ideas for you. This hatred of Levi against Benjamin, that they chose Benjamin to be the blood-out sacrifice for what's his name, Napoleon and Jesuits, for their benefit, to relieve their financial stresses. They want to sacrifice the children of the Most High. I mean, to be a sacrifice unto pigs and dogs and devils. That's how much they think of the Most High and his treasures. That has come to naught. Let's see what you can do about it. That's your word all the time. In your confrontation with the 12 tribes, you're always suggesting. You're putting it out there. Okay, what you gonna do about it? You got your pistols and your guns and your neutron bombs and all the other bombs, and you say, what you gonna do? The Mashiach is coming to show you what is going to be done. And whether you will hear or forbear, it's in your hand now, because he's coming. He already let the world know in the book of Revelation, behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give to everyone whatever their reward should be. This is from the desktop of the Mashiach, the one whom you, Esau, crucified in Jerusalem under Pilate and Herod. You crucified him. But he says, behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me. What you gonna do, Esau? You get your bombs out, or your underwater submarine missiles and what have you, your space programming, you're getting it all together, and you program those fellas from space, as you've been dealing with them all the while, making mention of them. You program, you let them know what you need to do. You got to have them stationed where you need them. You got to set up your battlements and all your stations. Man your battle stations, Esau, because the Mashiach is coming. He's coming in answer to to your proclamation. Do you want to know what he's going to do? He's coming to show you, behold, I come quickly, Akashakamande, and my reward is with me to give every man according to his work. Isn't that beautiful, Yasha Allah? Your king is coming. And we're letting the world know he's on the way. Man your battle station, Esau. Man them good. And remember your brother Pharaoh. Remember what he said. Who is Yahweh that I should let Israel go? These people have served me so well, built everything for me. I gave them nothing. I plowed their backs, destroyed all their children, threw them to the crocodiles in the waters of the Nile. And you're talking about let them go? Now my servant Edom is here to finish my work, and you're talking about let him go? We're going to see how it turns out. So get all the reporters out, get all the, the journals, New York Times and whoever, London Times, all of them, get them together. These are Esau's businesses. Get them together and have them stationed along the way to see the battle. Yes. You want to know who the Most High is, who the Mashiach is that you crucified in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. You want to know who he is and whether or not he could free these people that he said he come to save. You're going to see it, Esau. Set up your battle stations. I implore you, I encourage you, according to the book of Ephesians, that says he made us to declare unto the principalities and powers the manifold works, the Most High, and Mashiach, the rod of his power, the seal of his vengeance against all disobedience, rebellion against the Torah. And he's coming, Esau. I gotta stress it for you because I know what kind of fella you are. And as the old folks used to say in my hearing, here in the Bahamas, they used to say, we don't believe the sun is set until it's dusk. So I implore you, Levi, and Esau, don't believe the sun is set until it's dusk. Mashiach is coming to show you how the sun could set, and there's nothing you could do about it. Be encouraged, Yasha Allah. Be encouraged. Be encouraged indeed. But give me a few more minutes because I was starting to show you how Levi developed this character and these characteristics that we have seen displayed in the 400 years enslavement. Levi, indeed, has become incensed against the Most High because the Most High would not put him in a place of kingship. We had a priesthood that was over the kings, but he wants to be a king. And the Most High never gave it to him. That's the reason for his hatred against the Most High and the Mashiach, and against the baby. That's why Satan and Levi and Esau, all three together, has come up against the baby. Now what you going to do for your baby when the robber or the thief or whoever come to take your baby and destroy your baby? You're not going to take care of your baby. Come on, Yasha Allah. You're not going to take care of your baby? You mothers, you tender-hearted mothers, you women of character. I know you will stand up for your baby. But if you have your man, your covering, to say, wait, baby, stand back here. Let me show you how it's done. And you stand for your baby. You know it's going down. This is the picture of the Mashiach. Stand back. Let me show you how I take care of my babies. And he's coming for you, Yasha Allah. set you free. Deal with Satan and Edom and Levi. Now you know what it was and what it is about Levi. He hated the fact that he has never been granted kingship in the nation. That's the seat and the root of his hatred against Benjamin, the son of Rachel, and say Rachel, the brother of Joseph. It's a family feud going on. And look who the family put inside it. Satan, the mastermind of all evil and destruction, added Edom into it. Won't be long, hold your attention longer. You might come back and visit it some more and, loosen the story up some more. But there you have it. In the name of the Most High, power, Mashiach, our King, who executes the vengeance of the Most High against all disobedience. Though you crucified him in Jerusalem, and though you create your Nicene Creed, coming to show you what time it is. Behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give to every man according to his works. Bless you, Yasha Allah. Be strong and the Most High in the power of his might.